I'm doing incredibly well. It's great to get you on the stream. It's been a long time coming. How's the fundraising?
Yeah. Going good, thanks, man. Yeah, all right.
You don't ever
Tough
stop, do
market
you?
generally at the moment, but all things, all the wind is with Hatch at the moment.
Love it. Look, I'd love a little bit of context into yourself and Hatch, and then we can just get straight into it.
Yeah, cool, man. So I'm a partner at Hatch. Hatch as a fund has been going for around 5 years. We were founded by two serial entrepreneurs who exited their sort of main business about a decade ago, over a decade ago now. Started investing as angels initially, built up a bit of track record as personal angels, and then formed a syndicate. Syndicate did very well. Their largest exit through syndicate was 267x, something like that, like a stonker. Um,
That's
and
not bad.
basically that kind of
267x isn't a bad return.
it was something like
From
that.
an
It might have
angel.
actually been more
Whoa.
than that. Anyway, that sort of like catalyzed this idea of going out and setting up a fund. That was about 5 years ago.
Hmm.
And now, as a fund, we're just shy of 100 million AUM, portfolio of around 150 companies. We invest pre-seed and seed. Business to business software as a service, effectively just businesses with recurring revenue. And it's an interesting time because the portfolio is now beginning to mature. Obviously, the horizon for those sort of early stage deals is longer than people might like. However, that sort of 5 year mark now, we're seeing Series A rounds, Series B rounds, and exits as well. So we've had five exits in 25, all profitable. The largest was 7.5 times. And we're on a bit of a charge and growing quite rapidly off the back of what's really been quite organic growth today as a fund. So around 2,500 investors, and our SEIS fund is capped, and we oversubscribe that fund every time we raise it. We raise three tranches a year. And our EIS fund is raising rapidly. We're going into this period now, Q4, Q1 calendar,
Hmm.
where it's um, it's all about the tax efficient funds, right? We've got the budget coming up in November. We've got possible changes there, which will TBD, but possibly make this sort of stuff more attractive. And people start allocating quite aggressively around that time into companies like ours. Um, and yeah, I've been in the business for a year. Before that, I was part of the early team at Crowdcube, which I'm ex-chief growth officer there, and experienced quite a bit of the crowdfunding hype over the last decade, and worked on campaigns like Monzo and Revolut and Chip and Moneybox and Free Trade and Brewdog and all sorts of stuff like that. So I'm a brand marketing sales guy, really, and that's where my passion lies.
Love it. Look, I want to talk all things fundraising today because I've never met someone that's fundraised as much in their life as you have over the past year. Why does Hatch do this in three tranches?
Yeah, well, we actually do seven tranches.
Seven tranches, sorry.
Probably
Wow,
four
geez
locked in
Louise.
that one. Yeah. So we do four EIS tranches and three SEIS tranches a year. Um, there's an argument to say that we move away from that amount over the as we've scaled up. I think one of the reasons that we did that as we were growing was to be competitive in market and be able
Hmm.
to invest very reactively, always have committed capital there. But it has created this sort of quite aggressive fundraising cycle, open close, always be fundraising. So yeah, we raised seven tranches in what they call evergreen fund structures, so SEIS and EIS, and then we raise and deploy tranches. In SEIS, we do 10 to 15 companies per tranche,
Hmm.
£4 million per tranche, and we effectively invest out of that fund as if we've always got committed capital,
Clear.
because that's sort of the best way of doing it, rather than knowing that we have to fundraise and then deploy. As soon as we hit and see a good deal, Hatch can turn around docs and invested money in account within a week if the deal's competitive, which they definitely are. So having that speed at pre-seed, being a first check investor, going in and obviously securing that allocation for SEIS is very important. And then EIS, as I said, it's scaling, but we do 4 funds a year. We're probably going to reduce that TBD, but over the coming couple of quarters, and raise larger tranches. Those funds are typically a little bit more planned, so we actually know the deals that we're investing in, and then we often actually raise off the back of the deals in the fund. So slightly backwards on the EIS fund,
I've
but
got to
that's just
ask, what are the
bit
secrets
immature.
to consistently just being able to fundraise? Like, is it just always on in your head? You see, you're having conversation with these high net worth individuals. You just are always selling, or in your case, always fundraising. What is it
Yeah.
that you've figured out that no one else has?
I don't think there's a silver bullet, but I think consistency wins. Consolidation, focus on channels that work,
Hmm.
and pulling on both head and heart emotions when packaging up a deal or a fund or a proposition. And I guess what I mean by that is investing in this asset class brings both rational thinking in that I want to see a return, I want to get my tax relief, I want to sort of make money, and then you're sort of more emotion that's led to what the proposition might be solving and the business that's actually the fund is investing in, and packaging up some of that stuff and the storytelling around those businesses, as well as giving people the ability to table talk, go and tell their friends about what they've invested in and how exciting it is. And, I'm invested in a VC and other bits like that. We also give people quite a lot of education on the market.
Hmm.
So empowering them to be confident in the asset class and what they've invested in gives them that confidence. So emotional and rational hooks. It's the blueprint of crowdfunding actually, which I've applied to a lot of the thinking that we do at Hatch. And The other thing is the types of messaging that we send. So we send transactional messaging, and we send educational messaging.
Clear.
And I think that distinction is important.
What is the difference between the two?
Basically, invest now. You're not allowed to
Yep.
say that, but essentially, this fund is open and it will be open for this long, and whatever it might be. It's very very transactional. Call to action is, on board, start your application, and educational will be here's some of the stuff that we're seeing in the market at the moment, and this is some of the stuff that you might be interested in, or are you aware of your ability to gift money to your kid and allow them to start their investing journey and take advantage of EIS, and actually a very tax efficient way to both pass money down intergenerational, but also educate the next generation on investing, right? So really crazy and different stuff, but all sorts.
On that educational piece, what are you seeing in the market at the moment?
We are seeing capital preservation, like people and businesses, and the demand from investors is that people are far more sensible with their capital and have the ability to sort of race and speed to profitability much faster than the demands of, let's say, 2021,
Hmm.
where capital was pretty cheap and it was all about top line metrics and user growth. So capital efficiency, basically, and is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I think that's a good question to ask for the European scene. I think we're seeing a lot of pressure now in the UK and Europe to push much harder and faster, raise bigger, compete with the US in our ability to build, category defining businesses in the multi-billions of valuation. So I think there's that slight sort of competition there of like demanding capital efficiency and investing a small amount to get a lot, but then that sort of flipped pressure of, well, actually we want to be able to compete on the global scene here, not just exit our best businesses to US trade sale at Series B. So I answered that a slightly different way, but I think what we are seeing is certainly more demands on founders. The founder pool and quality of founders right now is incredible,
It's
and
insane.
and I think that's amazing for investors. Sorry, someone at the door.
It's okay. Do you need to get
My
it?
God,
Or is the dog going to get it?
no, dog. So the dog's got that covered. He's very vicious, very
Love
vicious.
it.
Yeah.
We love a vicious
Um,
founder as well. Gets their teeth out, elbows out, make sure they go and get the deals done, and they acquire customers faster than anything.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah. So high quality pool of founders. I think the power shift is on the founder side more so than the investor side right now. Founders, the very best know that we're pitching to them, not the other way around,
Hmm.
and that's how it really should be, frankly. And I've always believed that, and I think we're very firmly in that world now where the power is with the founder, the power is with great business, and there's lots of investors there, there's lots of money around. So it's sort of take your pick, who can add the most value, who can get you to where you want to be.
Two questions here. One is very much this narrative around unlocking capital in Europe. Do you see that on your end as you're fundraising, that there is a lack of capital that can be deployed? And the second one is like, why does someone come and take money from Hatch? Why do they pick Hatch as the investors with them?
Yeah, I don't. Is there a lack of capital in Europe? I think there's possibly a slight lack of our ability to write, real big checks later stage, but we're
Hmm.
certainly seeing a shift in that. We're seeing some mega rounds or mega funds being raised in Europe predominantly. I think there's more of a focus on pre-seed and seed and in the UK from what I'm seeing. The British Business Bank I know has got some recent sort of larger backing from the Treasury. I was with Adam Kelly there, who's the managing director of funds. We have a commitment from the British Business Bank. Just a couple of days ago, he was talking to the fact that they're going to actually start writing some direct tickets off, out of their funds. They usually back funds,
Wow.
but instead actually writing direct tickets, 50 million plus individual tickets into businesses, as of now, basically. So that's pretty exciting. So I think there is a lot of capital, but it is mainly focused on earlier stage in the UK,
Hmm.
not so much in Europe. As I said, we're seeing some bigger funds being raised there. Hatch is just UK.
Hmm.
Um, your second question was why Hatch?
Why Hatch? Why does someone want to come work with Jonathan?
Yeah, so you wouldn't be working with me, sadly. I don't think I'd be a very good investor. I'm the only non-investing partner at Hatch, so I'm focused on fundraising, brand growth, marketing. But the rest of the team are fantastic. We, this pitch has been said, but frankly, it's true at Hatch. We're all ex-operators, founders, company side. We've been there, raised money before. We've exited companies before, and we know the ups and downs of building. Our very fine-tuned value proposition is to get you from 0 to 1 million and 1 million to 10 in ARR.
Hmm.
And we've built infrastructure, we've built guides, we've built tools, we've built network, and everything in between to enable you to get there as fast as possible. At the point of Series A, Series B, we're going to be a small investor on the cap table and we pass off basically. And we have that network of Series A, Series B investors we can introduce you to, but we're not a strategic there holding your hand up until IPO. We are absolute ninjas at that first 0 to 1.
Why do you like that area? Is there a particular reason you like it? You like spending time with, well, not spending time specifically with founders, but playing in the space of pre-seed and seed right now?
Me personally, there's a mad amount of energy and a huge amount of excitement. There's great amount of buzz, like all those things and you can kind of like thrive off that. For me, I love the idea stage and seeing those small wins being celebrated, whether
Hmm.
it's even getting a meeting with a potential ICP. You've learned that actually what you're saying to a potential customer is landing and it's resonating, and I think it's celebrating those small wins when you're so early. And I think being able to do that with founders, as many founders as hatchbacks, we're probably investing in 50 companies a year, and being right in the mix with these businesses is great. I get a lot of energy from that. So we do founder interviews with every single founder every quarter. So over 150 videos uploaded to our investor portal, so our investors can actually see and meet and hear from the founders. So we all do what 10, 15 of those each. So you get it in a kind of fixed format, but then there's also quite a bit of like, well, who knows this, who knows that? Can you help this person connect in and be a bit scrappy? So it's kind of like being fractional in loads of different companies, right? Which is a lot of fun.
Completely agree. The idea stage is incredible, and then ability to see execution just rapid at this point in time, right? More than ever before, just rapid iteration of just consistently building a product. You look at companies
Yeah,
like Fixer as an example that have scaled to 10, 15, I think it's more than 10 million ARR in 8 months, which is absolutely incredible as an example. I'm
definitely
sure,
more than
what is it, 50 million ARR right now? I'm not too
I
sure. We're
know.
going to have to fact check
I'm
that.
a
It's incredible.
apparently I'm a top 10% user of Fixer,
How do you find
which
the
is interesting.
product?
'Cause I don't use their video integration on calls,
Hmm.
but that's quite a key component. I quite like it. Yeah, I quite like it. I think if it went away, I wouldn't like cry. So I think
Uh-huh.
there's work around stickiness and really embedding themselves properly in people's day to day. But I think they're definitely getting there, and the iteration speed of deployment and iteration on product is pretty compelling. How about you, man? How are you finding building your own business?
This has probably been my life's work, if not will be my life's work. It's been incredible seeing across the block the different types of startups people are building and businesses more traditionally, and then also from a VC perspective, how they're thinking about deploying funds. The speed in and across the UK and Europe is definitely different to the US. Like there is that is it just feels completely different, especially when you talk to the US founders. They just move completely at speed, at light speed compared to us.
Yeah.
The There is, however, incredible amounts of talent here that is completely underrated, and that's the edge. It's like I think everyone here walks around with a chip on their shoulder sometimes, and that's a good thing because it means that we are consistently fighting for the startup to survive. And actually, you don't get lackadaisical. You don't have the serendipity of the valley because Europe is a completely fragmented block. I think through these shows, as you're seeing pop up in media change across Europe and the UK, that serendipity is going to come in the form of content and media. And I quite like that. But past that curve of the buzziness and the attention, what happens? And like, I would love to ask you this question as a marketeer, as someone that's been in marketing, as someone that understands brand. All of these companies are owning their own narrative today, right? They're consistently putting out launch videos. They're consistently talking online, whether that's founder first, whether that's company first. Like, do they have to consistently keep this up all the way through pre-seed up to Series A and then continue post that? Or like what changes long term in marketing for startups?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I'd say I'd say your principles absolutely do change, for better or for worse, right? And I think that's you can see that quite transparently in the crowdfunding journey. If you look at some of the core principles of how Monzo went to market on day one, which was
Hmm.
completely unique and frankly like
What
set the
were
precedent.
they?
for-
What were those
Well,
principles?
well, it was putting your customer at the heart of everything that you do, which I know a lot of people say, but not a lot of people do. And on day one, it was closed beta, wait lists. Not only that, you could buy shares in the business on day one. And that was the hook, that wasn't the end. So
Hmm.
from the point at which you became an owner, and frankly, to the point at which you became a user, you felt like you were co-building that business. So the community forum, the feedback loop on product, and they realized faster and earlier than anyone else that if their customers could build their business for them. And I think as you scale, or as they scaled, and as we've seen with other companies in that space scale, I think the challenge is you forget that because the teams bloat and the businesses get bigger and you become more and more corporate, frankly. So keeping that kind of early feedback loop and that early customer obsession going is really, really challenging as you scale, right? The guys at Nothing Tech who those guys who do phones and earphones.
Absolutely. They just raised what,
Yeah.
200 million? And didn't they
Yeah,
start on Crowdcube?
yeah, it's another crowdfunding knockout for sure. They implemented this thing called the Community Board Observer, So they have someone
Community
from their
board observer.
community. Yeah, so they have someone from their community who actually goes to their board meetings.
So this
Uh,
sounds a lot like Amazon's empty seat, which was left empty to represent the customer. In Nothing's case, what
yeah.
you're saying is like they actually have a customer in the room.
Mhm.
I think that takes it a step further. That's pretty
Yeah,
incredible.
if you go online, type it in, you can actually see their report of them what happened at the board meetings, effectively their
Hmm.
minutes of reflections from the community, and they feed that back, and then there's a continual loop.
Do you
They
do you tell
they were
the
inspired at
companies?
the
Oh,
time.
sorry,
Go
please.
on, then.
I was going to ask. Do do you ask or do you tell the companies inside of Hatch you recommend to them to try that?
I bring it up as a great example. I think it's very powerful for B2C
Right.
because it's clear and obvious, particularly if you're building tech product, continual iteration type stuff. I think for B2B, you know, going and asking the head of procurement from HSBC, like, can you come and sit on our board? I don't think it's just not going to work. But I think there's elements of that kind of that go to market and the way that you're building with your customer right at the forefront. In fact, they're actually telling you what they want every single start. That's a startup playbook, right? Like go and have 50 conversations before you write a line of code, at least about what people actually want. You might have defined the problem, you haven't yet built the solution. That solution should be defined by your first 50 paying customers and what their actual needs and wants are, right? So I think the way that Monzo approached that from a consumer perspective very early, then roll that was a blueprint for every other neobank that launched. Revolut did a very similar thing. It was very commercial in their approach. They did a refer and earn type thing, where it was hardcore, wasn't it? But they were
Hmm.
they were equally building with their users, as were Chip, which another crazy community led brand story, and certainly building a lot of those principles into our go to market at Hatch and what we're trying to do, talking with our investors as much as we can about what they look for, what they want, what they need, um, and as should every business, right? People say it a lot, but actually putting that into practice and then sitting down and saying, "This is the basics. Let's take it a step further than that." That's
It's
where people should
I think about this a lot through the show, and because the product is content, not often do we get to have a dialogue. Usually, it's quite an interview, so I appreciate this. The uh, the idea that I talk to my customers through the screen is weird, right? Because they're constantly consuming it, they're adding comments, and getting out into the world and actually talking to the people that consume it is a completely different conversation
be. Mm,
because you can ask them what don't you like or what do you like, and I don't want to hear about all the nice stuff. I want to hear about the like, what don't you like about the show, what do you want changed, how can we improve it, and getting in front of them and actively talking to them is the best way to do that.
100%, yeah, 100%. I think it's again, people talk good game, but do they actually do it? Um, and that is a competitive edge, right? That's going to make you
How
fucking
can you do
great, not
that
good.
at speed
Yeah,
and consistently iterate the product? one
for
of the
sure.
th- one of the things I'd love to ask is you're absolutely killing it with the fundraising. Obviously, you're growing the overall assets under management from 100 million to 250 million over the next 3 years, from what I'm seeing online. Are you on track to hit that?
That's the plan. I mean, there's a few big unlocks. I'm a big fan of Dave Brailsford's Marginal Gains. Do you know much about that? The
I
guy who
don't. Tell
coached
me more.
B cycling team. So he was the coach for B Sky B cycling team, and he was obsessed over every single marginal gain that he could layer into their team's approach to win the tour.
Hmm.
And like for example, the team riders had their own personalized mattresses that were like molded to their bodies, and they would take them ahead of time to the hotel that they were staying at and make sure that mattress was in their room, like ready for them. Same with the pillows, same with like everything that they did was just 1% better than everyone else on the tour.
Right.
And that compounded to them winning and being the most successful team of our generation, basically. So I think if you apply that mentality to everything that you do
Hmm.
in your job, and the way that you approach, your own strategy. I think it's really interesting, and it's a reflection on how you did it last time and making sure that the way that you do it this time is 1% better than before, and you'll always be improving. I think so. My view on that is there are loads of things that we do that continually develop and build Hatch into a better business. But then there's bigger unlocks that will step change what we do and how we grow. An example of that is our British Business Bank relationship. For example, we operate £20 million commitment from them that co-invests alongside every deal that we do.
Right.
That's a fifth of our total AUM. So the day that we closed that was a pretty big day, and that step changed what we did. And there's conversations in the mix, right, that will further step change the business to reach that goal of 250 million.
Is the goal
So
to optimize for assets under management?
a way to optimize.
Sorry, is the goal to optimize for assets under management?
I think it's a North Star metric for funds, isn't it? I think you need to do it at a considered pace, and do it with the focus on quality and performance.
Hmm.
Building a fund is not like building a business. It's not growth at all costs and
Why?
just keep going, because you compromise on quality, right? So we could raise more and more SCIS money this year, if we wanted to. But we know that unless we cap those funds, at the level they are,
Hmm.
we will start investing in lower quality businesses. Um, and I can make lots more fees from raising lots more money into SCIS, but that will compromise the performance of our funds, right? So there is a challenge with normal ways of thinking. I can go and make more money here, but that's not going to be good for medium long term outlook for our company, because at the end of the day, you're as good as your performance.
Last two questions. One, how do you get Hatch to 1 billion assets under management in the next 10 years?
It's a good question. Um, I think raising institutional capital alongside our tax efficient funds makes most sense to step
Hmm.
change in that level. And I think alongside that, obviously the European ecosystem isn't UK tax efficient, right? It's not CIS, CIS. So I think having a broader pre-seed seed remit for pan-European investment and raising from larger LPs, global LPs, to bolster our check size, but frankly give us the remit to invest across Europe would be the way to achieve that.
Last question. One of the things that we love to ask VCs and investors or people that are part of funds on the show is, what are the two companies that are not inside your portfolio companies that are valued under 250 million that you believe are going to be generational defining companies?
Ah, you caught me off guard there, man. Um, let's say what, below quarter of a billion now?
Below 250 million now.
Well, you've had him on my show. You've had him on the show before, and I'm on the board. So
They
um,
can't be portfolio companies, Jonathan. They
it's
can't be.
not
You don't.
portfolio. Um, Yeah, I mean, I've met a lot of founders in my last decade of working in this market,
Uh-huh.
um, and certainly Callum at Wineify sort of got me excited. I feel like he's got that resilience and drive that will get you there, and
And to
and
turn quite an archaic business into something that is quite sexy, feels great, and investable is pretty insane.
yeah, it's exciting. It's cool. So yeah, notch him down. I will cheat here because they're only a recent portco,
Oh.
but Olivia Parks from Percy, they do it's sort of like personalized shopping widget, and they're in pilot phase with a number of big retailers at the moment. A
Hmm.
few people have attempted this. However, I think she's really nailed the value proposition, working with retailers on exactly what that looks like. Coming back to the first point, and frankly, her resilience and drive to achieve and be the best is quite extraordinary. She's worth following on LinkedIn actually, and looking at the journey of how she raised her pre-seed, because it's quite an interesting one. And frankly, Hatch invest in people, and she's just an incredible founder. So I mean, both of those examples, I'm talking about people, right? They are fundamentally,
Game of ventures, the game of people. We love to see it.
yeah. It's not the business, is it?
Jonathan, this has
But
been a pleasure. Thanks so much for the time. We're looking forward to getting you back on again. We're gonna have to, when you raise the next tranche, we'll get you back on.
let's go, man. That sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.